Hi, today I want to talk about jQuery bound events being lost on partial postbacks. I recently took over a project at work from another developer, and what we had going on is there was an HTML button that when clicked would open a hidden div layer, so kind of like a pop-up window. And what would happen is this page took place on an ASP update panel, and anytime a partial postback on the page was called, the click event for the button that would pop the hidden div layer would no longer work. And I'm going to explain why that happened today and a way to work around these type of issues. So let's take a look at my example. You'll notice I have an HTML button here, it says Hello World, and I also have an ASP button called Partial Postback. These kind of represent what's going to happen. This button is going to pop a JavaScript alert box that says Hello World, and this button is literally just calling a partial postback to the page. So if we go ahead and look at the source, you'll notice that I have the click event for the Hello World button defined here in jQuery. And I just have this inside of the document.ready function, the jQuery document.ready function. And this works great. This code gets called on the page load. So if we go ahead and fire the project up here and click on Hello World, you'll notice we get our alert window that pops up and it works great. The problem is if we go ahead and click a button that calls a partial postback and then click the Hello World, you'll notice that nothing happens. That's because on the partial postback, the events that are binding this button click event are not getting called. So our event's kind of lost at this point, so this button's no longer going to work. So the easy way to work around this, let's go ahead and stop my project, is at the end of the update panel update function, there is a function page load event that you can take advantage of that does get called on a partial postback. So the idea here is if you use this function page load and go ahead and copy your binding code into that, now when we run the page and the partial postback happens, this event will be called and our bindings will take place. So if you have a lot of these binding events, you could put this into a sub function somewhere and then just have that called here to go and bind if you don't want the page load event to be full of code or whatever. So let's go ahead, now that we've moved it inside the page load, let's go ahead and run the project again. We'll click on Hello World, worked as it did before. Now let's cause the partial postback. Now if we click Hello World, you'll notice the button still works. So just to kind of recap here, if you have jQuery click events defined and you're working with an ASP update panel, you can take advantage of the function page load and that will get fired on a partial postback. Thanks.